Okay, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending where you are in the country. My name is Kent Mitchell. I'm the Senior Director of State Affairs with NHSA, and great to have so many folks on. We got about 40 folks and more joining. Sorry to end that mid-song. I know that was not a great place to do that, but we've got a ton of good content to go over today and wanted to be sure to get to all of it. We're also going to spend a little time building some community here. I see a lot of very familiar faces from my work with NHSA and with the Head Start community, but this is also an open webinar where we've invited advocates and folks from all across the early childhood community. So really thrilled for that and that collaboration and partnership. So let's build a little community today. You're here to learn about some 6 win-win opportunities to support at-risk children and families through Head Start and Early Head Start in preschool development grants. Obviously, this is a really timely moment to be talking about this, and we're one of many groups offering advice and guidance as states complete preschool development grant applications. So without further ado, let's get started because we have a lot of content to cover. Some of the goals for today, 3 main goals. First, we want to affirm Head Start and Early Head Start's importance for children, families, and state early childhood systems. I think we all have a common understanding of that, but if not, let's reaffirm some of that and detail it out a little bit. We also want to do a lot today of our core purpose, which is detailing these 6 win-win opportunities within PDG grants. And what I want to stress here is this is about leveraging Head Start, Early Head Start, but it's also about supporting Head Start and Early Head Start. Our community has a lot of needs right now and is facing a workforce crisis, as all parts of early childhood and frankly education are in our country. And then finally, we want to make sure you're connected to resources and to people in the broader Head Start community who can assist you if you're working on PDG or working on other work that involves Head Start, Early Head Start. So let's get going today by building some community. I really like this graphic because it shows that we are in relationship, and I'm sure that we are. So want to dig a little bit into that right now. We're actually going to just use the chat. Don't love the poll function on here, so we're no polls today, but we're going to start and just use the chat, and would love for everyone to weigh in on a few of these questions. So let's start with why, the why of what we do. So why do you serve children and families? What's your purpose? What gives you meaning? We're all servants to children, families, and communities. We've all committed to that why. Why do you serve? And we'll look at some of the responses as they come in. Thank you, Patty from New York. I serve because I love it. Someone has to. That's true. It brings me joy most days. I love that. Yeah. Who else? Who else can weigh in? Denise says, I'm a product of Head Start as a child. And congrats, Denise, and continued my education as a parent and employee. Congrats. That's the Head Start story in a nutshell. Amazing. Thank you, Denise. Amanda, Kentucky, because I want to create a better tomorrow. Knowing and understanding the importance of this work. Absolutely. Children are our future. The work with homeless housing system. Our children do not have access to Head Start. Thank you for sharing those statistics, Joe. Being in the field. Yep, it's inspiring to be in the field. That's why we do what we do. Hanukkah, my first job out of college was Head Start. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of long timers, not surprised, a lot of us so passionate about working with kids, families, and creating equity and opportunity. And a lot of us have personal experiences as parents, as advocates. Wonderful. All right, let's continue building community. What skills do you bring to the work? What are the skills that you bring? Working with families is a passion, absolutely. Think about this PDG work, which is all about building community, building systems, increasing access. What are the skills you bring? What do you put on your resume? What do you tell people you do? You're authentic, Carrie, genuine. Paula, getting people, organizations to talk to each other. Julie is a synthesizer, a connector. I see that, Julie. Thank you. A resource provider. That's hugely important. Thank you, Carrie. All right, they're rolling in now. Project management, building relationships from Rachel. Language access advocate. Thank you for doing that. Incredibly important. A new report came out actually from Migration Policy Institute. 1 in 4, I think it was, or 1 in 5 young children under 5 are in dual language households. Strategic planning, collaborator, wonderful. You see how much we have in common. Love MPI, me too. All right, let's get a little more specific. What's your role in PDG? I've offered 4 options here. There may be others. You can come up with your own word. Are you writing a PDG application? Are you providing input into one? Are you implementing PDG? Or not sure, maybe not sure what your role is, hoping to have a bigger role. I see a lot of writers, some input coming in. TNTA, good to see that. Thank you, Brian. Providing input, writing it, writing and collaborating, not sure. Yep, collaborating, inputting. Some writing, Elena. Yeah, some writing, probably a joint effort. Assisting in the writing and implementation, state pre-K supervisor, Rachel, thank you. Yep, some history of PDG in Alaska. Weekly calls to give input. Great. So naturally, you're here, you have a role, and your role is important. So thank you for sharing that. To keep things moving forward, why don't you list a few outcomes or projects or things, and it doesn't need to be a long description, can be kind of a very brief few words or sentence. PDG Head Start opportunities you have engaged on in the past. What are those? Just give us a flavor of that as we talk about content today. Obviously, Head Start has been involved in preschool development grants. Head Start provides pre-K in states often. What are you working on? What are you interested in? Workforce or quality initiatives or different populations that Head Start might serve and strengthening those services? Be interested in. What are you working on? Exploring. Family leadership and engagement, awesome. Building Head Start into community hubs. Workforce, yep, professional development, CQI. Previous PDG third-party contractor. The early childhood mentoring pilot, I saw that, I love that. Needs assessment, data sharing. Workforce again, no surprise, lots of workforce. QRIS, supporting families experiencing homelessness, thank you. Building capacity for mental health consultation, the pyramid model, wonderful. Okay, we'll keep them coming in. We want to keep going so we can get to all the good stuff. Thank you, Danita, as well, for your input. I think it's important to build that community today. We may be in different states, regions. You may even be competing for these funds, but I think it's important to show that we're all collectively putting so much hard work and bringing in our full skills and service to bear on this endeavor. So NHSA's vision, many of you know us really well, but if you don't, we are an association that seeks to represent the entire Head Start community of families, children, staff, programs, and really the mission and vision of Head Start to end intergenerational poverty, to advance school readiness, and help all children, especially all vulnerable children and families, succeed in life. Our mission, we do that by coalescing, inspiring, and supporting the Head Start field, in specific as a leader in early childhood development and education. We do it at the federal level, the state level, the program level, all different levels. And I want to stress we're just one of many big parts of the Head Start infrastructure. I call it infrastructure, and I use this gears graphic to just show that there's a huge number of entities, 119 or so, that partner day in, day out. This doesn't even reflect the thousands of programs and allies and others. But Head Start's been around 57 years. We have 3 national associations, NHSA, and 2 associations focused on migrant and seasonal populations and tribal AIAN communities. We've got 10 regional associations, 55 collaboration offices in states and territories and the district, and 51 state associations. I include DC in there. So we have a DC Head Start Association. I live in DC. We happen to think it should be a state. So these links, you'll see links throughout here when I share the slides post presentation. You can click it through these different resources and learn more about the infrastructure. But for those who are less familiar, these are assets. These are folks you can connect with, and we'd be happy to make that connection too. So just to reaffirm some of the importance and the scope of Head Start, love this cluster map. It shows the huge breadth and scope of Head Start. We're basically in every congressional district in the country, which is important for our power and our strength. But we're really serving kids all over the country. You'll see some really strong concentrations, obviously in the Midwest, in the Northeast, and the coasts, and a presence all throughout our country, though. You'll see even Alaska, Hawaii represented in the lower right-hand corner, and there are other territories as well. And I should mention, we do Head Start, Early Head Start, and all sorts of different programs. Head Start at a glance. This is just a little bit about the current scope and scale of Head Start, about $11 billion in annual funding from the federal government. This does not reflect state supplemental funding or pre-K or childcare dollars that programs take in, and we know programs do that. This just reflects the federal funded work. Almost 1 million kids are served or touched by Head Start every single year. I'd really like to also note that we have a major workforce in Head Start. We have 273,000 Head Start and Early Head Start jobs. And those are jobs that we know need to pay more. We need to work on compensation, but they are jobs of meaning and purpose and passion. And we love working with our Head Start community. If you want to know more about Head Start in your state, just a reminder that NHSA has state fact sheets. I've just pulled out Texas's as one example. I think I see Alferma on the call. Good to see you today. Just noting every state, you can click through here and look at state profiles and get a sense of the scale and scope, and importantly, the comprehensive services provided by Head Start in all of the states. And this little kiddo, right, this is why we do this. It's for him, it's for his future, his family's future. I just learned that this child is actually at a Head Start program in the Grand Canyon, believe it or not. So there is a wonderful AIN program there in Arizona, in the Grand Canyon. Maybe some of you have been there or seen it. And Early Head Start, excuse me, Tommy's here to correct my, of course, Early Head Start. He's a young kiddo. So, but love him. I love this photo because it encapsulates all the joy and impact of Head Start and Early Head Start, sorry. But I didn't want to leave out the family, right? So I love that photo, but that photo is not enough. It doesn't capture everything we do and you do and our associations do to promote family strength and well-being, including fatherhood and many fatherhood initiatives and the strong presence and building up the leadership and support for parents and families and caregivers. The Head Start core elements, not going to go in depth into these. I think we all know that it's birth to 5, it's comprehensive, it's culturally appropriate, it's generally federally to local with state support as well. Really strong, of course, proven model. The value add of Early Head Start, again, won't go into all this, but I focus on the what, who, and the how of Head Start and Early Head Start. The what, of course, being that model and that proven model. The who being just a richly diverse, ethnically, racially, culturally, geographically diverse, white, African-American, Hispanic, biracial, Asian, you name it. So really inclusive as well, and with children experiencing poverty, foster care and child welfare, homeless, SNAP, disability, dual language learners, a lot of immigrants and new Americans, and the how. And for this purpose, I think is really important for PDG. Head Start brings in billions of dollars to states with no state match. It's highly accountable. And importantly for families, it's tuition free. And this economy where, yeah, jobs are present, work is present, but inflation is like 9–10%. Costs are going up. Families need this kind of support. Families need Head Start and early Head Start. To drive home the point again, this was from a recent report we did looking at what targeted populations does Head Start, early Head Start associations and collab offices work with, and 61% said, yeah, we work a lot with children experiencing homelessness. We work a lot with families engaged with SNAP, which is a new eligibility pathway, families facing substance use, addiction, or mental health issues, and on and on. Of course, Head Start is highly focused on some of our most vulnerable children and families. I want to spend a little bit more time here before we dig into the 6 win-wins that I see in PDG, and really just stress the point, which I've written here too, that Head Start and states need each other, and now more than ever. And so it's really should be a very reciprocal, honest, open relationship. That's the goal. And they need each other. So when you think about some of the state goals that Head Start, early Head Start can solve, you can go ahead and throw some in the chat too if you want to be active here and engaged. I'd love to see what you think and what you would put here on this slide as well. But kindergarten readiness, right? Reducing racial achievement gaps, addressing intergenerational poverty, helping parents work, child health, child welfare, feeding children, maternal and infant mortality, jobs for women, the workforce of tomorrow. We could go on and on. There's so many reasons why state goals can be met by Head Start, early Head Start. I want to be really honest here too, because we're talking about really support and infrastructure building through PDG, that Head Start has needs, and we'll go into that a little bit more. But Head Start needs more diverse funding. Federal funding for many grantees has not kept pace. There are COLAs regularly, but sometimes those COLAs are small. So particular for our workforce, we need a more stable, qualified, fairly compensated workforce and diverse funding. We need enrollment support and family awareness of Head Start, access to Head Start, what it is, what it does, why it's good for them and their child. We need to remove barriers to access. There are very real barriers to access to Head Start and early Head Start. One of the top ones is transportation. A lot of programs can no longer afford to fund that. And that means many vulnerable families don't have access. School district partnerships, we need those to be strong. We need those to work. And we need facilities support, right? Head Start facilities are where children learn, thrive, and develop, and where our staff go and want a safe, and high quality place to work and to do their professional job. And we need facility support and partnerships to expand the model into new settings. So there are pain points, right, for Head Start. We won't dwell on these because I think these are familiar probably to everyone, whether you're in Head Start, an early Head Start, or outside of it in other sectors. But a lot of seats are unfilled, right, due to staff turnover and difficulty hiring unfilled positions. Staff are obviously, they've gone through COVID and the pandemic, they're tired, they're exhausted. We have a vaccination requirement that is still applicable in the majority of states. It is not applicable in about half the states. But it is a staff vaccination requirement remains. We are working on that. And parents, right? Parents have gone through a lot. I know there are parents on the call. I'm one of them. I have a 4-year-old now and a 9-year-old. We've gone through a lot in the last several years. And we need a lot of support, but that can also manifest as frustration. And so obviously when you're serving families, you're experiencing that, you're feeling that too. So just to kind of provide some affirmation of that, in particular, if you're questioning whether, hey, my Head Start program seems fine, or my state Head Start community hasn't shared anything with me, well, ask again, because there are real challenges, right? So enrollment sits around 73 to 77% for Head Start, early Head Start classrooms. 17% of classrooms were closed as of Labor Day week. This was a SNAP survey we did. and about 20% of positions are currently vacant. Top reasons for that are low compensation and a lack of candidates with required qualifications. All of that means, unfortunately, right, enrollment goes down, shuttered classroom, difficult decisions. PDG can help with that in many, many major ways, and we'll get to that. Just to stress again, the workforce issues are the top concern of our community. When we polled and surveyed state associations and collaboration directors in states, their top priority by far, and of course this was ranked voting, we forced them to pick a top priority. Workforce support was by far the top priority. General state policy, which PDG does a lot of, was also a very high priority, as well as pre-K alignment and funding. So you'll see really a strong relevance of the PDG opportunity, which is really focused on workforce initiatives and, of course, that general infrastructure of state policy and pre-K access and quality. I want to stress, and feel free to use any of this with your audiences if you need to help convince them, but the administration supports Head Start and Early Head Start. And while the administration is not technically the agencies, right, they are very aligned. So I want to make sure and just kind of go through this, that, there were some really strong moves by the administration to support Head Start, Early Head Start in the past couple years. First, and lawmakers on Capitol Hill too. So Build Back Better, which unfortunately did not pass in the version that passed the House, but when it did, it had $2.5 billion a year in supplemental workforce compensation for the Head Start, Early Head Start workforce. That was a huge vote of confidence in the need to strengthen and support Head Start and Early Head Start. The universal pre-K provisions in Build Back Better included a requirement, not an option, but a requirement for states to provide comprehensive 2-gen services. The budget being requested for Head Start in this most current year, there's a typo there, is over $11 billion, including a proposed $650 million for Early Head Start and a large COLA, though not sufficient to meet inflation. And recently, as we all know, or most of you know, SNAP families enrolled in SNAP are now eligible for Head Start and Early Head Start. That was an administration change. And of course, all of you played a big role, especially our associations and NHSA, in advocating for that. It's all to say Head Start is in the application. They want to see partnership, and we encourage you to really push for it and promote it. I won't go into too much here, but there's a great report about how leading states integrate and connect Head Start, Early Head Start to their ECE systems. This is a great OPRE report out of ACF, and you can check that out. And I also want to note we have a Head Start state and regional impact report with many, many, many examples, thanks to many of folks on the call, about different ways that the Head Start infrastructure supports thriving children and families in 6 different areas. You can also get up to speed on what NHSA does and learn about who leads these different infrastructure pieces. Okay, so that was a little long preamble to get to the meat of our conversation, but I think an important part there to reaffirm the importance of Head Start, Early Head Start. So without further ado, these are the 6 state Head Start, Early Head Start win-wins that we see in the Preschool Development Grant, and we're going to go through each of these. And go ahead and throw questions in the chat if you like. We'll have time at the end, and we can also get more informal and interrupt our presentation here to answer some of them, or try to. So the first one is not going to surprise you. It is raising the Head Start, Early Head Start workforce compensation. Why? To reopen closed classrooms, right? That is the top reason to do this. We can talk about pay parity and all the other good reasons, and equality and the shifting of the workforce across different sectors and settings. But at the end of the day, we have closed classrooms in Head Start, Early Head Start, and it's critical that we raise compensation, and PDG can support that for Head Start and Early Head Start workforce. Number 2 is to expand the use of childcare funding by Head Start and Early Head Start programs. Why? Main reason, to meet family needs for longer hours. There isn't a program I don't interact with or talk to that expresses that need for longer hours, especially in Head Start, where the requirement tends to be less than Early Head Start, and Early Head Start is year-round. So childcare funding, which many programs do access, you'll see later about 40%, still needs more work, right? We need more layering and grading and integration of childcare subsidy with Head Start, early Head Start to meet family needs. This is a true barrier to access, and PDG can help solve it. The third one is to maximize enrollment in Head Start through this new SNAP eligibility pathway. Why? To serve more food insecure children. We need to reach these families and these children and give them the health, nutrition, and comprehensive services of Head Start and early Head Start. This is a big priority for the administration and a huge priority for our associations and our partners, is to maximize this new SNAP eligibility, which reduces the administrative burden on families and programs and creates amazing access for families who need the tuition-free, high-quality services, Head Start and early Head Start. Fourth, let's provide direct funding to Head Start in state pre-K. Why? To expand comprehensive services. Many states, right, most programs access state pre-K, but they do that through the school districts. Nothing wrong with that approach, but some of our leading states like Alabama and others provide direct funding to Head Start. They cut out the intermediary and they expand comprehensive services. That also reduces friction and tension at the local level, and again, make sure more kids get what they need from Head Start, early Head Start. Number 5 is expanding access to the early Head Start model. Pretty obvious why here. We serve a fraction of infants and toddlers in high quality infant toddler care. We need to dramatically expand that if we're going to grow as a country, as a nation. Early Head Start reaches only 1 in 10 income eligible children, which is a travesty. We can expand that early Head Start model to many more children and serve many more infants and toddlers. And then finally, we want to engage Head Start families and parents and policy councils, which is that formal body in state policy making. Why? It's obvious. We need to raise the voices of those who've lived experience, and we need to do that to improve state policy. Head Start has a very strong background and infrastructure in that, and I encourage folks to integrate that into their PDG applications as well. So this is kind of like the core slide. This is where I wanted to capture the 6 win-wins, and now we're going to go through those in some more detail. So this workforce win, you'll see on each of these issues, we list the win-win, we talk about the benefits. Of course, you may have a different articulation of that. This is my articulation of some of the benefits. And because you're writing an application or working on one or providing input, I thought it was helpful to provide some key metrics that kind of speak to why do this and how you might measure it. So obviously, we want the average teacher compensation in whatever set of programs you're interacting with, Head Start, early Head Start, to increase. And we want to go back to that core concept. We have to reopen these classrooms. Workforce compensation, workforce partnership is critical to that. And again, we need to reduce competition for staff that is kind of irrational. We need to take some of that irrationality out of the system, create more pay parity, and reopen Head Start classrooms. I wanted to offer a couple examples here. I'm giving these examples, even though they're focused on ARPA funding, to make clear for those who have any hesitation, states can support the Head Start, early Head Start workforce with childcare dollars, with PDG dollars. There are simply no restrictions on that. It's all allowable, and Head Start and the early Head Start workforce need that support. So I've offered a couple examples here of bonuses and incentives from Georgia and Delaware to buttress that point. I also want to note, if compensation isn't in the works, hopefully it is for your state, your application. We need more analysis of Head Start's needs. What does our workforce need? What funding needs to come to fill the gaps, create the kind of climates and workforce we need to support the million or so kids in Head Start, early Head Start. Here's a good example of California doing surveys, interviews, and some analysis to create better pathways and hopefully compensation for the early Head Start workforce. And credentialing. I mean, this is a top issue too. You saw those barriers to opening classrooms for Head Start. It was compensation, and number 2 was we can't find qualified people. So here's a couple great examples from Alaska and West Virginia. I think Lori Milo is actually on the phone from West Virginia. I know Supanika's on from Alaska. Great to profile your guys' work here, creating different pathways, fields of study, and opportunities that are accessible and affordable to credential and license great teachers in Alaska and West Virginia. More of that is needed, and encourage folks to explore that too. Want to reaffirm compensation really is the top issue, but credentialing is an important one. So that's a little bit about some of the workforce challenges. And yes, Lori, happy to do that. Childcare partnerships. This is our second win-win we want to dig into. Again, this is a barrier to access, longer program hours, improve access for families, especially families working one job, multiple jobs, et cetera, unpredictable schedules. Very important to have that. A few of the key metrics I think drive this home. How many Head Start, early Head Start children are kind of dually funded, dually enrolled in subsidy and Head Start, early Head Start? What are the number of newly created Head Start, early Head Start slots with extended hours or working day hours, however you define that in your state? And the number of early Head Start childcare partnerships that are created. EHS-CCP is a very well-established model. It definitely has benefits. It definitely has challenges, but at the end of the day, we want the early Head Start model to be in as many settings as possible. And partnerships with childcare, whether that's family childcare, center-based childcare through EHS-CCP are critical, and I think a great option for PDG. I mentioned that hours of service remain a critical barrier. We did a lot of analytical work on this. If you need some substantiation of that, you'll see 7 of the top barriers to access we identified over about a 1-year period of study and analysis through a nationwide survey, deep dive focus groups, et cetera. And you'll see those inadequate hours of service circled there. So it's definitely an issue for many families. And this is surprising. This is just kind of more reason to do this, I think. There's a really good Mathematica study that the federal government commissioned, and it really asked what are the other funding streams that Head Start programs take in. And you'll see that only 39% of those programs who were surveyed and studied took in childcare subsidy. On one hand, that's not bad. That's nearly half, but it's also not probably where it needs to be, right? To meet the need for longer duration of hours and to provide more opportunities for families who need this. So you'll see it's also significantly lower than state or local pre-K funds. 70% of programs, Head Start programs, take that in, and only 39% childcare subsidy. So I think we have a long way to go there. Why is that happening? That's where you come in, right? I think that's really about looking at your state subsidy system, the interaction with Head Start or lack of it, and working with your association and your collab office to figure that out. Okay, that's childcare. Win-win number 3 is all about this amazing new partnership with SNAP, which really opens up huge opportunities to serve more food insecure children and families, fill Head Start classrooms, and reduce the administrative burden on programs and families. I also want to clarify, I mean, if we fill families with the SNAP eligibility and Head Start, that could free up childcare dollars to serve other children, more children through childcare subsidy, if that is limited or capped in your state. So a couple of the key metrics I think are important. Obviously, how many new families, new children are being enrolled through this new SNAP pathway, and what are they receiving? What are the allied health, nutrition services, meals that these children are getting? That is direct impact on those children and on those families. So good opportunity to quantify that as well. For those who are not as familiar with SNAP or this change in SNAP, we'll go into that a little bit. But just as a broad, take a step back background, SNAP is truly a critical support for kids. You'll see here that more than 2/3 of SNAP participants are in families with children. In an average month in 2019, SNAP served more than 3 million children, ages 2 to 4, and that's not including even the infants and the babies that they're served by SNAP, although many are served by WIC. Research has found also that SNAP does a few really important things. SNAP in early childhood improves high school graduation rates, adult earnings, and adult health. If that sounds familiar, because that's what Head Start does too. So we are allied social welfare, social safety net programs, really critical to keeping kids healthy and developing on track. And they stepped up during the pandemic, right? SNAP is an entitlement. So when poverty goes up, SNAP rolls go up, right? Not uniformly, it takes outreach and reaching those families, but SNAP really increased its presence and expanded during COVID. So your state definitely expanded SNAP access in some way, shape, or form. And probably wants to continue to do that, we hope. So I think there's a good reason to include this in your coordination work. Obviously, Head Start understands and responds to hunger. We did a social determinants of health survey last year looking at different social determinants of health. And number one, 62% of programs surveyed agreed many families we serve are food insecure. It's a shocking statistic, right? Even for Head Start. We know a lot of those families are better off than other families. All the more reason, though, to get them into Head Start and to try to address more of those issues in a concerted way. What did Head Start programs do during COVID-19 on nutrition and food? 66% provided food for pickup, 62% sent food home with children, created community outreach, partnered with local food banks, on and on. So a lot of great work to build on. So this work is not new, but hopefully can accelerate. For those who don't know it well, we'll include the link here too, but families are now categorically eligible. That does not mean families are guaranteed a spot in Head Start or Early Head Start, but if they are on, their child is on the SNAP rolls, they are guaranteed eligibility for Head Start, Early Head Start. This is a huge thing, and they've made it quite easy to verify eligibility, though we have more work to do there, and I'd hope some of that can come into play in your applications. On the left, we have a great graphic, credit to the Ohio Head Start Association. I know Julie's on as well. Enrollment has never been easier. I love this graphic, really shows the reasons to focus on enrolling this young child and the impact it can have. And you see a social media graphic from us at NHSA as well. So this SNAP change is hugely important, has a lot of new opportunities. So what does that mean? What could you do? I mean, you can take this in many, many different directions. Hopefully those metrics kind of point to the overall kind of North Star, but a lot of state associations, collabs, a lot of you on the call are developing memorandums of understanding with your SNAP lead agencies. You might want to model that off WIC. This is an example on the left from Massachusetts, who's really going to do something remarkable. They're really going to have very open, transparent, real-time data sharing to promote two-way exchange of information between Head Start and SNAP at the state level, at the local level, really creating a system where we can maximize this opportunity to get more kids enrolled. We have a SNAP eligibility implementation toolkit that's more program level focused, but it may help you understand this issue as well. I also want to stress this is a big administration priority. Again, speaking of the administration, NHSA had two major commitments included at the White House Conference on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health, which took place a couple weeks ago. And one of the two was to enroll about 100,000 children right through this new SNAP eligibility pathway. That's an all hands on deck goal. We know we can meet it. Head Start can meet that goal, but PDG can support that work, and we hope you fight for inclusion of it in there. All right, fourth, let's go to pre-K. Pre-K, obviously, Head Start provides a lot of pre-K services. And what we're really trying to focus on here is direct funding of Head Start. So cut out the intermediary, directly fund Head Start, make sure that these preschool services get to the kids who need it most, and reduce friction again with school districts and the lot. Some of the key metrics, what are the number of directly funded slots in Head Start classrooms in your state based on this work? And I think really thinking about some of the marginalized, vulnerable, and high priority populations that Head Start serves. For example, dual language learners and children with disabilities. How many of those are served by Head Start through these new endeavors to better partner and coordinate this pre-K work? So to stress this again, some facts here, going back to that Mathematica report, this is a slightly different chart which asks, well, what is the largest source of program funding outside of Head Start for Head Start programs? The largest source is state or local pre-K funds. 54% said that's our largest non-federal source. Really important point there. Head Start's a key player in pre-K, but it can be doing much more, again, obviously with the workforce support, but also the direct funding from states to actually directly support Head Start. I want to point out here, and I'm sure folks from Alabama are on, but First Class Pre-K is one of the top ranked state pre-K programs. It's one of the few that's held up by NEAR in their annual state preschool report. Alabama First Class Pre-K offers dedicated funding for Head Start programs. It is directly sent to Head Start programs. This is slightly old data from, I think, a year or two ago. We're updating this piece now on state funding. We'll have that out next month. But at the time, a couple of years ago, that enabled services to nearly 1,700 children across 94 classrooms. It can be done, and if you need support, you can point to a program like Alabama, and there are others who provide direct funding for Head Start to provide comprehensive pre-K services. Okay, it's not just, right? It doesn't have to just be direct funding. Obviously, making sure the Head Start performance standards are part of the conversation around pre-K is really important. A good example here from Kentucky and Kansas, excuse me, the Kansas Head Start, no, Kentucky Head Start Association. Apologies for a typo there later in here. And all the work they did to make sure that the change in standards in Kentucky was informed by Head Start, and those standards were recognized and included and reflected in training, etc. I also want to note, if direct funding isn't in the works for your state, there is a lot more work. I know I have a lot of allies on the call about how to make sure the school district Head Start partnership is strong. A couple good examples here. New Jersey has a master contract that the Head Start Collab office has developed that school districts have to use to partner with Head Start. So it brings a lot of uniformity and clarity to how to partner with Head Start. And Virginia, excuse me again for a small typo here, their Head Start Collab office coordinating a superintendent's memo that addressed the legislative language to certify that Head Start enrollment slots are filled first. This is called full utilization in other states. It might be called something else in your state, or you may not have it at all. But the priority here is to make sure that federal dollars don't go away, that children who are vulnerable are receiving comprehensive services. It makes sense to fill Head Start slots first and then to fill those pre-K slots. So there's a lot more you can put in, maybe requiring or having a project on these contracts or having full utilization. These are a couple really good things. We can't leave it all up to leadership and to relationships. Those things are critical and important and push everyone on that. We have to create a system, though, that reduces friction and make sure the most vulnerable kids access Head Start preschool and that those slots are filled first. Fifth, okay, let's go to early Head Start. This is a particular passion of mine. Obviously, we want to reach children as early as possible when brain development is most robust, when families need support the most, and we want more children to access this early Head Start model. It's hard to talk about expansion when the workforce crisis is so big. That said, that's why PDG exists. It exists to solve problems and to address them. So I think it's fair to say there could be modest and targeted initiatives to expand the number of children in classrooms using the early Head Start model. And don't forget also early Head Start provides home visiting. It's an evidence-based proven model as well, and that may be a good option for your PDG application. One of the obvious benefits here is to strengthen the infant toddler ecosystem. And we like to say, just like Head Start, it's been around 57 years, was the model for much of state pre-K. We believe early Head Start can be that model for high quality infant toddler care moving forward. As I mentioned before, early Head Start tragically reaches only a fraction of eligible families, just 11% of families, so basically 1 in 10 families. And we don't have a full continuum prenatal to 5 within our system of Head Start. We have about a 500,000 slot gap. This number has gone down somewhat, so I need to update the graphic. But we have a major discontinuity between the number of early Head Start slots, which is down here, and the number of Head Start slots. We need that to rise. We have a campaign called Early Head Start Rising that's all about lifting up early Head Start, not diminishing Head Start, and creating a full continuity of care prenatal to 5, get kids ready for school, for life, and for success. I want to stress early Head Start just as much as Head Start is about addressing inequity. It's about doing it even earlier, which we know scientifically is important. Millions of infants and babies live in poverty, and COVID-19 has created some real challenges for many families, especially those in deep poverty. There's been a historic systemic lack of family-based support that has kept parents, especially mothers, out of the workforce. We need to recognize those gender inequities, which start early for families and for single moms. And also Early Head Start does critical work, helping families navigate services, especially health services, which may be out of reach, whether that's dental care, vision, immunizations, finding a medical home, all of that stuff, mental health, trauma care, etc. So Early Head Start's a connector, and it's incredibly important to addressing inequities. We have a full brief on this. I won't go into all of it, but states have some really important goals around infants and toddlers and the earliest years of life. We think Early Head Start does a lot to address those, and there's a full brief you can access and look into that. I want to stress again, it's not just center-based care, though most Early Head Starts are in that space, about 2/3, or in family child care homes or child care partnerships. There are still almost 60,000 home visiting slots through Early Head Start federal funding, and about 12,000 pregnant women are served every year. You'll see on the right-hand chart here, you'll see the diversity of that share varies widely. So this chart shows the share of Early Head Start slots dedicated to home visiting and how that varies by state, right? So it may be only 12% in Texas, but it's 43% in California. So you'll see a really big variation. Where does your state stand? Why? Do you want that to go up, down? What's the role of PDG in that? So I encourage you to spend some time thinking about the model of Early Head Start 2 and what model needs to grow and why in your community and your state. We do have a number of states who developed actual state policy agendas just on Early Head Start. I pulled out Hawaii's here, and congrats to Hawaii for getting that work done. But there are some commonalities we found across that work. Number one, the workforce, no surprise. Early Head Start needs a stronger and more stable workforce. Early Head Start teacher compensation has not risen in real terms, real dollars in a decade, which is absolutely a tragedy and needs to be addressed. So the workforce crisis is really big. We got to invest in the Early Head Start workforce. That's a prerequisite for growth, of course. Facilities, it's not always easy to create new classrooms or to convert classrooms from preschool to Early Head Start. So facilities are key, and startup costs can be very important. Partnerships with childcare. We're never gonna put the model just in Early Head Start settings. We need it as many places as we can. We need it in childcare. We need it in family childcare. We need it elsewhere. So those partnerships are critical. And of course, none of this happens without funding. So funding is needed to expand services and slots. And Early Head Start is not cheap. The center-based model in particular is quite expensive. But what do you get for that? You get a whole child, whole family model that changes lives. It's really critically important, especially for kids who need early intervention and families who need the most support in those earliest years. I am excited to share a little case study that we just released in anticipation of this webinar about expanding infant and toddler care through Early Head Start in Texas. This is in Fort Worth, and it has a number of great insights about how to do that. If you have 15 minutes, I encourage you to take a read of it, and hopefully that, share it around, get some inspiration. I'm going to go ahead and open it up too. So these are leaders in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Full credit to my colleague, Katie Dufford-Melendez, who wrote this issue brief. She's a manager of state policy here and is on the call. So thank you, Katie. And it's all about Child Care Associates, a wonderful Early Head Start program in that region, who is expanding Early Head Start by, I believe, 400 slots. So huge growth in Early Head Start. It can be done. It takes a lot of community support, and it takes those factors we just talked about. So really encourage you to dig into that study. We'll have other opportunities to highlight the work of Child Care Associates and share this out more broadly. And I see the link was put in. Thank you, Katie. She put in the link to the case study there. Thank you so much. Other state examples, Minnesota and Oregon invest about $25 million a year in Early Head Start. That's through state dollars, state supplemental. That's not federal. So huge kudos to both of those states. Colorado's using ARP dollars to expand Early Head Start childcare partnerships. And Connecticut, I think Connecticut's on the call. They have a early childhood mentoring partnership, a pilot with Early Head Start, which is an amazing pilot to partner with daycares and early Head Start to provide coaching, communities of practice, et cetera, with a focus on improving health and safety in childcare settings. So early Head Start can play a huge leadership role in the development of high quality initiatives around infants and toddlers. Okay, I want to get to our last one. Our last one is all about family voice and integrating our parent leaders, our family leaders, our caregivers in state policy. Why do we do that? I mean, in a nutshell, we're going to have better state policies. And I know PDG has good, robust opportunities to do that. And I don't think you'll have to do a hard sell here. I think it's really important to play up Head Start and early Head Start's background in this work, how to leverage policy councils, and all the training and support associations bring to this work, et cetera. So a couple key metrics: number of parents and family leaders, right, from Head Start, early Head Start trained and engaged, and the number of policies at the state level informed by parent and family voice. We always want to lift this up, and it's hugely important. There's been a huge movement, including at ACF, at HHS, who will be reviewing the applications toward listening to those with lived experience. Very important movement. And I highlighted a few examples here. Massachusetts Head Start Association, who had parent ambassadors and leaders trained, developed, and then they took on an advocacy project, collecting stories from parents about Head Start's eligibility standards. So really doing policy work, really doing community-driven grassroots policy work. Minnesota Head Start Association recently this year hosted a 2-day parent conference after 2 years of COVID with 88 parents participating, building connections, talking about mental health, and building local leadership. You all have so much to bring to the table, our community does. A few other state examples: Washington State actually pays parents now. How about that? We should be doing that. People are taking time off or taking time out of their schedules and other duties to talk about their experiences. Really love to profile here the Connecticut Head Start Collaboration Office, which is leading the development of an OEC parent cabinet using the Head Start model and the PFCE framework. Congrats to Lena, Beth Bai, and her team there. And I don't know if Jackie's on the call, but Arkansas is doing wonderful things, creating a family advisory committee, establishing a guide for promoting family engagement and using the pyramid model and the PFCE. So if Jackie's on the call, congrats to you on Arkansas as well. I also want to note we do have a specific memo that doesn't talk just about families and parents, but the whole voice of Head Start and early Head Start, how to bring that to the table in the states. So encourage you to check that out if you need ideas or need to make a case in PDG for this. I'll make sure you have that link. That link is a link to the title here as well. Finally, I was recently made aware that there is a PDG Birth to 5 TA Center report that came out late September on Head Start's involvement as a strategic partner in comprehensive ECE statewide systems building efforts. And I have captured some of the key findings in here about what states and collab offices in particular did, because a lot of this is focused on collab offices, did to integrate and promote Head Start and early Head Start in PDG work in the past, and the recent past, and the long past. I guess PDG has been around a while. So you'll see on the next 3 slides here, this is slide 1, slide 2, and slide 3. You'll see clear examples of how states have promoted and worked with Head Start, early Head Start, and PDG. I think it's fair to say if any of the 6 we talked about don't exactly speak to you or your state or what you think is possible or feasible, I'm hopeful that some of these will, and that they will give you ideas for things to bring to the table and bring to these applications. So that link is also here, and you can go ahead and Google that too. And congrats to all the collab directors who participated in this report, if you were part of that report, and it's a great tool as well. It's been very timely as PDG is taking shape here. All right, I knew I'd be tight on time. We had a lot of content to share. We have about 4 or 5 minutes left, and encourage anybody to share on any of the 3 things here. And the 3 questions I kind of developed here, what are some of those PDG priorities you're working on? What are your reaction to any of the 6 that we talked about? Any successes you want to lift up? That may be one of the easier and more compelling things to do here, is to celebrate and to lift up things that have worked. and what else do you want to ask and to learn? So you can go ahead and come off mute. We're not a huge group of 47 of us on the call, so feel free to raise your hand or come off mute and chime in on these, and particularly welcome folks who are, exploring ideas or have thought through past successes to share with your peers. And we'll spend a little time doing that. Also, feel free to use the chat if you prefer, and welcome that.
Can you provide a link to the PDG Bridge-to-Five report that you mentioned just toward the end?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, let me go ahead and see if I can pull that out.
Great, thank you.
I'll go ahead and pull that now and put that in. Yeah, and I don't know if you were interviewed for it or if they talked to all collabs, but it's a good piece of a body of work and very timely right now. Okay, great. Well, as we wrap up, I know we only have a couple minutes. I just want to give you all encouragement and say, these 6 ideas hopefully are at least one or more resonant with you. If not, I know you have other priorities, projects you're working on. I also know I think this other report could provide some fodder for you. But just know NHSA is here to support you, whether you're in the Head Start community, outside the Head Start community, and want to prioritize comprehensive services for vulnerable kids and families, no matter the setting, we're here for you. So I want to end on that point. So you've got the contact information here for both myself. I'll go ahead and put my email in and see if I can do that for Katie as well. And again, there's a huge Head Start infrastructure, and it's my honor to be part of that. We have great opportunity here with PDG, and I hope you'll really push for inclusion and for action in PDG grants in the coming weeks. All right, we will send out the recording. We will send out the slides momentarily so you can all have that, and appreciate all that you do. So great. And look forward to seeing all the progress we can make together. So thank you all so much, and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.